our colleague Mark Stein reported on his Substack last week that Darvin Ham extracted some concessions about his staff makeup, as well as keeping one of the Rambi out of his coaches' meetings in a way that Frank Vogel was not afforded. Is that true, Bill?
That's what I was told. I was told that the day that Darvin agreed to the contract that he was going to have the full latitude to hire his own staff, which, is something that, Frank Vogel was very open about. And, he acknowledged that the Lakers brought Jason Kidd to him, and he, interviewed him, and he, made the decision. But it was the organization's wish to have Jason Kidd on his staff, and of course he was on his staff. And I think there were elements of that elsewhere because, it wasn't like Frank Vogel had a history with David Fizdale. So I think that the question really for the Lakers is how much have they learned from their past mistakes with their coaches, because they've been so heavy-handed with Luke Walton, with Magic Johnson basically threatening Luke's job 2 weeks into the season in 2018, setting the kind of, the course toward his eventual firing. Same with Frank Vogel last year, the one-year extension, micromanaging his staff, being in the coaches' meetings, Kurt Rambis blowing up on the coaching staff really early in the season and threatening their jobs. Can the Lakers get out of their own way? And more importantly, can they get out of Darvin Ham's way and let him do the job they've hired him to do? If they can, if they've realized that the way they've handled coaches reflects poorly on the organization, causes bad blood between the coaching staff and the front office, if they've learned that, then there's a chance that this could work. I just don't know. We just haven't seen that from this Lakers front office, really an ability to sort of learn from their mistakes. But it's a good coaching hire. It seems like they've done the right things so far. I'm going to be very curious to see what Darvin's staff looks like, because you've got a lot of cooks in the kitchen with the Lakers, right? And Frank Vogel's staff had, Phil Handy, who obviously has a history with LeBron, Mike Penberthy, who is the preferred, assistant coach of Anthony Davis and was with him in New Orleans. So, are those figures who obviously are very important to the stars and the stakeholders with the Lakers, are they going to remain with the organization? I mean, how about some of the other pieces? And so at that point, it's like, okay, Darvin has the autonomy to hire his own staff, but also if he looks around, he probably also knows who he needs to keep happy. So I'm going to be really curious to see what this staff, yes, he gets to assemble it himself, but at the end of the day, what's it going to look like is going to be a very interesting question.
Yeah, you just take a look at the two teams that are in the finals right now, the ones that were in the finals last year, right? It just doesn't it doesn't compute. I guess Chris Paul being in the finals last year could be, for the lack of a better analogy here, Bill, I understand, like a LeBron-type figure where the guy is towards the end, much closer to the end of his career or his basketball mortality than everyone else, but surrounded by winners and a coach of the year, right? Or you take a look at the Celtics, Jaylen Brown and Tatum and the young kids with just Al Horford in a certain role. You've got the Warriors with Kerr. Who has assistants on the staff that are handpicked by the stars, right? That are put together. It just seems to me like a threading of the needle to just run it back right now with a window to close. I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but odds are, which is a phrase that I've been using a lot around here lately. It just seems bleak, Bill. I'm not going to lie. I completely agree with you, and I think the Lakers are in kind of a constant state of evaluation of what's their best path forward. And I think for now they still feel like it's running it back feels a little defeatist, but it does it's that or what? You're trading Anthony Davis, trading LeBron James, completely tearing it down, trying to recoup assets and then give yourself a 5-year timeline. I think the Lakers feel like it's too soon for that. I think that sort of doesn't follow through on sort of the pact that they made with LeBron when they signed him in 2018. So even though there's a very logical argument to be made for that, right? That it's time to find a new path. But I don't think they're there yet. But you're right. As you look at the rest of the league, it's hard to see how the Lakers get back to the top with this current assemblage. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.